do, certainly take
Oh,
care of that.
sure.
And I'll,
I always enjoy introducing Scott. So, I know most of you. So, there's maybe one of you I haven't been face to face with, but certainly with emails. Let me introduce the premier trainer for this course. You have the best in the globe. He is the guy who went through the labs multiple times, rewrote them, made them work correctly, turned it into the development team, and they actually said, "Thank you, Scott." So you have the best trainer, and I'm going to turn it over to him.
well, thanks for that. I hope I live up to it. Um, well, hello everybody. As Gay said, I just got back from a big 2 month cruise through Asia, so had some time to put some materials together as she was asking me to do this, and added a few new things and all that to it. So today's meeting is just about an introduction, what we can do to get started, and what we can do to help facilitate things for you guys. So everybody's got my email address, of course. That's the best way to get in hold of me for anything that we need to do. So email me if you have questions or whatever, and we're going to talk about some other things like that later on. I got about a 20-minute presentation or so to give to you, and then we'll open up for Q&A stuff at the end, or you can type in some into the chat window if you need to do that. If you need to ask a question earlier, and Gay can monitor that for us. So why has Cisco come up with this course? It's been out on the market about 2.5 years now, in its second version, and I think they're going to have a update to it sometime later next year. I don't know anything more than that about it. Why did Cisco create this course to begin with? Well, through all of their research and things that they do, they have come up with what they call the perfect storm that's raging around the world for our youth. Through unemployment and underemployment, youth is somewhere in the neighborhood of 74 million, is what they're saying. Of course, we live in a world where we can't live without our technology stuff these days. They say that about 60% of our skills gap goes unfilled every year, strictly because of talent shortage. We can't find people to do these kinds of jobs. This is only going to accelerate. Uh, 50, they're expecting 50 billion new devices to come on over the next few years, $11 trillion to be made into it. So as we add web-enabled devices, all those devices, it's going to require um, lot more skills, a lot more IoT skills, engineering people to support what's out there in the industry. So Cisco, of course, has put a lot of money and research into developing this course and everything that they do pretty much. Lots of research, cooperation with other employers, partners, educational institutions to come up with the curriculum that they have. I think one of the big differentiators between Cisco and some of the other groups that offer out there is we all know that they're leaders in digital curriculum and design and the content and all that kind of stuff. And I think this class is definitely one of those things. They've built a class that covers lots of interdisciplinary type skills, not just for our networking students, but that could be applied in many different uh, departments in our education. So I think one of the big things, or some of the big things that the IoT curriculum does for us, we teach lots of 21st century skills. This class is going to have lots of hands-on prototyping, building devices, not just making them connect to the internet or whatever, but physically building the devices and see that they work. We're going to learn some programming, visual programming skills. Of course, the interdisciplinary things that we're going to talk more about as we go through all the other chapters. Teamwork, collaboration. Again, it's just a well-rounded curriculum for students to be involved in. I think one of the really neat things about the curriculum is the amount of hands-on that you're going to participate in. we're going to just scratch the surface on some of the labs. We're going to do maybe a third of them as a group or as instructors. We're going to do that, but there is lots more things out there. Every time I go and look, I can find new sets of projects and things that have been put out there on the internet. So sky's the limit on types of hands-on things that you can do. But as this course, we're going to spend the majority of our time working on the prototyping labs, building the circuits, programming them to work, and then you're going to find real quick being able to analyze problems and troubleshoot are huge skills that we have to have in this class. Nothing ever seems to work right the first time we put it together. There's always little tweaks you got to do. Oh, I've got the one pin off on the wire, or I got the LEDs turned backwards. No wonder it won't blink, or whatever it is. And being able to troubleshoot those type things is a huge skill that you're gonna use, and that will be a big part of what your students have to come up with. So there are 4 separate courses that are part of the IoT Fundamentals framework. Connecting things, what we're going to do. There's the Hackathon Playbook, has nothing to do with Hackathon. I wish they would work on a better name for that, and I think they're going to shortly, but we'll talk more about that one. There's the Big Data and Analytics course and an IoT Security course that came out just a few months ago. These courses can be taught in a semester, as a year-long formats. They can be combined in any fashion that you want to. They can be put in other Cisco courses. So if you just want some of your networking students to be set up with the Raspberry Pi stuff, they certainly can do that. I built out some Pis so that in the Introduction to Networks course, where we go in and Packet Tracer do some of the email servers and all that kind of stuff. Well, I built some of those devices so they can actually do that right inside the Raspberry Pi and see real devices at work as you go through and do some of those. So really, sky's the limit in how you want to combine these different courses together, and which ones you want to do. Again, year-long, semester courses. However, you get to choose how you want to implement the different courses. Of course, we're focused on connecting things. It's the first course of the 4. You really need to do this. You have to have this course before you can do any of the others and have any success in those. So labs in this course really concentrate on prototyping and problem solving and troubleshooting skills. We're going to do a whole lot of those things. They're open to pretty much any grade level. A freshman in high school can have just as much benefit as a graduate student if they were going to do something like that. So it's just how they're laid out and taught. The amount of time you put into them, I think, is the difference. So Cisco estimates the time to complete this course is about 40 to 50 hours, and then our reading and testing on top of that. So realistically, to completely do the entire course from beginning to end with all the labs and things that are, you're looking at about 70 hours in its entirety, I think, to come up with that. But again, you can pick and choose and make it fit to your schedules. Whether it's standalone or, as I said, put just little bits and pieces into IT Essentials or to the CCNA program, or the IoT Security is a good one to put into the security track. You get to pick how and where you want to put those things in. There are no official prerequisites for you or your students, for that matter. But there are things that will definitely help them get through the course a lot better. If they have some basic knowledge of programming, since we're going to be doing C++ and Python programming are the 2 languages that we look at in this course. Networking skills, being able just to plug in the IP devices and get everything's on the networks correctly. Anything that they've had in electronics ahead of time is definitely going to help them. Good knowledge of physics, just because we add a little bit to that curriculum, and I'll talk a little more about that in just a minute. For Texas, those of you that are in Texas, we've mapped this course as a standalone course to the AC DC electronics TEKS objectives that they can do. But again, you can incorporate it however you see fit. Again, there's some other courses that really go along with this course. The introduction to IoT could be taught as a couple of week uh, precursor to getting into this course. Of course, knowing about the introduction to packet tracer course, so those that need to get around packet tracer a little bit more, we got quite a bit of stuff in packet tracer that we get to do. We could use the Python programming language since we're going to do a lot within the Python. Any of the Linux courses would definitely be a help to you with the terminal stuff that we do, and the Raspberry is built within the Linux realm. So any of those things can be combined and added to this course to make it even more beneficial to students. One of the big things that where Cisco put a lot of energy into is what they call their prototyping lab, or it's known on the site as the PL app. So this is a proprietary thing that Cisco came up with. It's built on the Raspbian operating system, part of the Debian operating system, but Cisco has went in and added to it, tweaked it, made it a proprietary thing that we will load during chapter 3 is when we'll be doing that part of it. Some of the things they've added to it, they've got a program that's called Jupyter Notebooks that we actually write some of the programming things in. They've added a lot to the Blockly programming language. We'll be doing some of that. Of course, Python, we'll be doing some terminal programs, some different things inside of the Raspberry Pi especially. And again, we'll be getting to that setup and stuff in chapter 3. So nothing you need to worry about right now. Of course, I mentioned a while ago, Packet Tracer has got lots of objects in it that pertain to this course. Make sure you're using version 7.2.2. It's got some of the latest updates for the things that we do. The labs, pre-built labs in Packet Tracer that I give have been built inside that version, so you can't use anything else. There is going to be a new version of Packet Tracer, I think, in the next month, sometime when around when the new CNCNA stuff is released. And you certainly can upgrade to that, but at least 7.2.2 is what you need. You'll find inside of there's hundreds of sensors and actuators and controllers and lots of other devices that you can use to prototype and build out. Most of the stuff we're going to do hands-on could be done inside of the Packet Tracer environment first. One thing I always like to point out when you're looking at Packet Tracer, because of some of the copyrighted registered information that's out there, anything when we talk about the Arduino device, Cisco calls that a microcontroller. Anything you do with the Raspberry Pi, that's known as the single board computer. So when you're looking at them and trying to find those devices within Packet Tracer, you're going to see Cisco's generic name, not Arduino or Raspberry Pi. So that's something to watch out for as you go through. So let's talk a little bit about the layout of the course. After working on it and revising several times, we pretty much put this together so that it would be if you can spend 4 or 5 hours a week on it, you could finish this in about 7 weeks. Time that you want to put into it is up to you. If you can put more time, you can go faster. If your schedule is only going to allow you to do 1 or 2 hours a week into it, that's fine too. There's no real set. You have to be finished at this point. Only thing that we're asking you to do within the layout of the course, you need to be completely finished within 20 weeks. So that gets you into April to have things stuff, which ought to be plenty of time for most people to go through this. But again, 4 or 5 hours a week with a reading. I'm recording a little introduction video that goes with each one of the chapters. The videos are not going to talk about the curriculum, the reading, taking the test. You can do all that part. I'm concentrating the videos on the labs, things that you need to know to make the labs work correctly, things to be careful of, some best practice type things to do when you look through those. So I'm recording videos that are I'm trying to keep them between 15 to 20 minutes, no more than 20-minute videos to do each week. I'll show you where all those are going to be stored here in a little bit. Uh, so you can read, watch the video, do the labs. There's going to be several labs every week that you have to go through and do. So you can see this first week there's two packet tracers, 1.225 and 1.226. I have renumbered these from what's in the original curriculum stuff just to fit within our schedule a little bit better. One of the things that I thought were, and most people have agreed with me, that's lacking from what's in the curriculum is we never really get into the STEM objectives anywhere. This is where this course really shines and fits into the most. So I've written a separate module that we're going to have you go through that's going to talk about just the electronic stuff that you need to know. What are all the devices? How do we go about and figure out the resistance that we need to put in for a particular circuit or whatever it is, just the math things behind what we do, identifying all the components that we're gonna be using inside the course. So that won't take you long to get through there. Again, there's one lab that's going to go into detail of all those things that'll help you get through that. There's chapter exam, just same things that we do with all the other chapters. I've laid it out exactly the same way. Week 2 is all going to be about chapter 2 and the Arduino device. So from setting up the Arduino IDE, which takes a little tweaking to get it up and going first thing. So we'll talk about that. And then there's 6 different labs that we're going to go through and look at for using some of the sensors and components and things to set those up. Something from very simple to making an LED blink into actually building out some servos that use, and setting up potentiometers and flex sensors and photoresistors so we can turn lights on and off, and all kinds of things that we're going to look at with inside of the chapter 2 today. Week 3 is going to start with chapter 3. So chapter 3 is going to take a 2-week schedule to get through. So time we do the introduction and perform these first 5 labs in the 3rd week, setting up that PL app in the Raspberry Pi is challenging for most people. There's a lot of tweaks, a lot of best practices that you need to know about it. Things like if you want to have your students do it, they have to have administrative rights on the computers that they're using, which most schools don't allow them to do. So we're going to talk about some ways around that, how I would go about facilitating installing that application so that it's a lot less headaches for you and your students when you go through that. Again, and then we'll start with just from basic Linux stuff and then doing some Blockly and creating some scripts in that week 3. Week 4, then we'll finish up with chapter 3, get into a little more difficult, challenging stuff, setting up some interfaces. We'll be interfacing the Arduino and the Raspberry Pi together and using the Pi to control the Arduino and upload, treating it like the fog computer that it could be when you read about those terms. So being able to do different things within that, finishing up chapter 3. Week 5 then is going to go into chapter 4, the fog computing network services chapter. Quite a few labs you can do inside of that. I've kind of narrowed it down to just these 3 packet tracer, just so you can get used to some of the packet tracer things that are in there. Week 6 then is going to cover chapters 5 and 6. We're going to do just a few labs in those, mainly in the 5. So you can see there's really only one PL lab out of that group. The rest of them are some activities and a few packet tracers, and then learning to use that if then that online application and setting up some Google accounts so that they work together. There's some really cool things in that area that you can do. And then finally, week 7 is we'll talk a little bit about the hackathon course and how it can really be incorporated and be beneficial to your students in this class. Do a little bit of review, do some reflections document that I'll tell you more about as we get into it. You'll submit that week and then take the course feedback and final exam. So again, how much time you're able to put into it is up to you. If you can only do 1 or 2 hours a week, great. If you do, 10 hours a week, you're going to be ahead of me getting things put out there. I haven't got but the first couple of videos done, but I'm gonna have all of those hopefully by the end of next week stuff put together. That's my goal for putting all those things out. So that's kind of the layout of the course and what's going to happen within those weeks. So what's important to you? What do you need to know to be the accredited instructor? So you have to go through this training to be able to teach this course. So these are all of the requirements that you must meet to be accredited. First of all, you must take all 7 chapter exams. They are already turned on. You can take them as many times as you need to. They do record to the grade book the best grade that you do is the way I've got that set up, but you must make at least a 50% on the exam or better to be marked as complete. So it doesn't grade it in a 100 scale. So there may be, it tell you there's 38 points on the exam. So you have to get at least 19 points, 50% of the exam for it to be marked as complete. So you have to have a completion marked on all 7 chapter exams. You have to complete all of the required labs. And we're not going to do near all the labs in the curriculum, but we're going to try to do all of them that really cover the hands-on, in-depth hands-on stuff and some of the more difficult things in packet tracer so that you can see how those things work. You are not going to submit the labs back to me. Those are for your benefit. You do with them whatever you need to do. What you're going to do for me is kind of a best practice that I do with my classes is I create a lab reflection document. So at the end of each one of the labs, I will ask you 2 or 3 questions about them that you had to have completed the lab successfully to be able to answer the question. So I may tell you when you inputted this command, what was the 7th line that it told you? So, you can go through and answer some of those questions. I find that's a lot easier to grade than trying to submit all of those labs back to me. It's just a headache when you're using these third-party applications and stuff to do that. So you'll do all that through a lab reflections document that you will submit when you get to the very end of things. And again, we'll look at a little more about those later on. You have, like all Cisco classes, you have to complete the course feedback. And then finally, you have to pass the final exam with an 80 or better. We can give you, a couple of chances to do that. We find most people don't have any trouble getting through the exam part of things. Since we're going to spend most of our time working on the labs, because that's where most people have difficulty trying to troubleshoot and get those things up and working. And your students, I know, won't be an exception to that rule. Lots and lots of video sources that are out there that you can use. The ones on the left side are things that I've went in and looked at. There's a YouTube site. It's called Dan's Courses. The Learning Tech Training does a really good job of it. Kevin Wallace has done some. Cisco actually has a YouTube channel called Cisco Packet Tracer Labs, where they've done all of the labs that are in the curriculum. They've been done and show you a little bit about those and troubleshooting type things to do. I put together, you see the link down there, I put together an IoT fundamentals playlist. Anytime I find a video that I think's a good match for this, I add it to that channel. So there's a couple of 100 videos on there that cover all types of subject matter and new projects, all that kind of stuff to do. Everything that's on the right side are some places that you can go to get more labs, buy materials, just some good resources for this class and coming up with again, activities and projects and worksheets and all that kind of stuff inside of all of those to look at. So everybody's got their equipment stuff, but I want to talk just a little bit about some recommendations and how to go about getting your kits and stuff set up. Most of you probably just purchased the kit itself. So you can get a Raspberry Pi kit. Cana kit is probably some of the better ones to get for that. Um, SparkFun has a Arduino kit they call the Red Board, or they actually have one now that's just the Arduino Uno kit. You can get through either one of those. Those are the kits that Cisco recommends that you get. If you just buy the kits, there's about 4 things that you had to add on. Some components you had to add of those together. You're looking at about $220-$30, something like that, just to buy the kits. If you want to take the time and price those out yourself, you can buy just the very basic kits and then get all of the components, which you will probably need a lot more of those than you realize. Being able to buy the LEDs in bulk and some of the wiring and transistors and not transistors, resistors, those type things that you're going to go through a lot of. It's better to buy them in bulk. So I've done it both ways, so I can get it from $225 upper end of the range all the way down. I can buy all of the kits, all of the supplies for about $120. So you can save yourself quite a bit of money if you're willing to go out and purchase those things separately. Uh, SparkFun, you can buy pretty much everything on that list individually. CanaKit has got a few of those things that you can do. The Adafruit and the Pi Hut are really good places to purchase stuff from. That Pimroni has a lot of good equipment things that you can do. And then those last 4, again, software and just labs, that kind of stuff, you can come up with those. But you can see the list of all the things that you're going to need for the class. Buying extra jumper wires are probably a good practice to have, because those things get broke and bent. Again, extra LEDs, extra resistors, some of the diodes and transistors and that stuff. Such small little parts, they get easy to get lost. So having some extra of all those are good for you to have for your class. If you want to go out and just buy the Raspberry and the Arduino kits, of course, just the Raspberry Pi 3B Plus is the one that's recommended. It's about $36 just to buy that device, and then you have to get your own power supply and SD card and case or whatever you want to put with it. So you're looking at about $55-$60 to buy just the very basic kit, which CanaKit makes one. They just call it their starter kit that's a good one to get. You don't get all the extra components, all that kind of stuff with it, but you do have the option then to get the complete or the ultimate kits, which add some of the component things that we use inside the class. You do have the option, pretty much any of the Raspberry Pis will work. The A Plus Pi will do all the labs. Just know it doesn't have any networking or wireless capability, so you have to buy that separately to plug in those labs. The Pi Zero and the Pi Zero Wireless are good kits to get. Again, as a kit form, again, $25 that gets you the power supply, SD card, case, all that stuff. You can actually go out and find just the Pi Zero for $5 or $6 to buy those, to have extras that'll do the things that we want. So you can save a lot of money by pricing out that, and not just buy the whole kit's worth of stuff that you do. Same thing for the Arduino devices, where the Red Board from SparkFun's about $20. You can go on, if you can do anything Amazon or like that. Keystone, you can buy the same exact device for $9. It's just not a red. And then their inventor kits, all those top things are a lot more money. The inventor kit comes with a whole bunch of stuff to build for robots that we're not going to use in our training stuff. So really that Tinker kit is a better option. And again, if you want to know more about those things and pricing them, I can give you more information on all of that kind of stuff. And of course, my computer has decided not to cooperate all of a sudden. Oh, wanting to respond. Give me just a second. May have to reboot that program. Only got about 4 or 5 more slides to go.
Scott, maybe we could see if there's any questions
Okay.
if
Sure,
while
yeah,
you're waiting. Any
yeah,
questions?
absolutely.
Be sure to unmute yourself if you have a question. No questions. Wow.
I'm doing good
Such
so
a
far, I
good
guess.
job. No questions.
There, almost back up. That, I think the document, where's the beyond? Sorry about that. All right. I think that's where we were at. So again, you can buy all these kits very reasonable if you're willing to go out and do a little research and find better options than just buying the whole kits. There is the brand new Raspberry Pi 4 that was released back in June. Great little devices. I bought several of them and playing with them. As of now, they are not compatible with this course. Cisco hasn't rewritten the PL app to be able to use this device. I'm told I've turned it in, asked several times to the project manager, and that is on their list to do. But the CCNA is number one on their list to get out right now. So I'm expecting sometime second quarter of next year that they'll have this device up and going for us. So you know they've rebuilt the way that the device boots and the way that it uses RAM is started and all that kind of stuff. So they got to pretty well start from scratch with the PL app to make that work. But again, other things in your Pi tops, those top devices, great little devices to have and use. So some of the resources that I put together for the class, of course, I sent you an email link end of last week with a link for all of the software, all the things that we need going to need in the class. So I'll put all of the Arduino, all the Raspberry Pis, all the labs, extra stuff that we not need in the class. So that's one. It is a big download, about 16 gig download, I think. But again, that's going to give you everything that you need for the class. I would not use Cisco's resources for what we're going to do. There are the labs are not exactly the same labs that we do. They don't work quite the same way. Some of them I've again tweaked them so that they are better for our training purposes and for what we're going to do with the students. And I'll show you some other places to get updates and different things of those in just a minute. But using that Google Drive link will get you pretty much everything you're going to need for the course. Also sent you a link. So we're not going to have regular meetings anymore after this one. You'll be able to watch the videos yourself, or I'm going to keep some office hours just for this class. So Tuesdays from 11 to noon, that hour, and then Thursdays from 4 to 5, I'm going to have a WebEx opened up with those links that you see down there at the bottom. So if you do have questions,
Scott, that's all central time. So adjust for
yes,
your time.
right, yeah, all those are central times. So you can join that link and we can share out if you're having a particular problem with your program or whatever. But you also have at any time you have the ability you can email me and we can set up a private WebEx if we need it, or try to answer your question through email or whatever we need to do. I'm I'm here whenever you need the help. It doesn't make me any difference if it's late at nights or weekends. If you got a question, you need help, please don't hesitate to call me and we'll get together however we need to get your questions answered. So I maintain a class for instructors, for those of you that have been through some of my training with me before. So basically my website is elktech.org. So when you go into there, you see a white box kind of in the middle of the whole page. You're going to click on that box that says Cisco Instructor, and then click on the IT Fundamentals link. Password to get into this course is all lowercase, Cisco IoT, and then that will take you into my instructor training page where you're going to find lots more PowerPoints that cover all the chapters in details and the quizzes and all those top things. Some of my other teaching materials that I've done, the study guides, different things about Arduino and programming, and those things are listed in there. There's a group in there that I set just so for the videos. We're going to look at all the different stuff that we can download are linked in there, and then I got a bunch of other helpful, useful link things that you can go through. We'll look at that in depth here in just a little bit. As I've been telling you, I'm recording some training videos that I'm going to put out for each one of the weeks or each one of the chapters that we're going to do. They're going to be linked two places. On my website, you'll see under the teaching materials, it says the remote instruction videos. I've recorded this one already, an introduction one, and the very first week's chapter 1 and the electronics chapter are already posted for you to use. I'm going to try to have the other ones within the next couple of weeks, I think, I'll stay ahead of you. You can also get to all the same videos right from our curriculum page. There's a link down here at the bottom that says remote instruction videos, and that will open up a page that'll take you out to, I created a YouTube channel that's got all the videos on it that you can look at, and you can use those with your students if you need to. I've put all the closed caption and all that kind of stuff on them if you need any of those. So you can download from either one of those. My website is all MP4 formats, and then YouTube uses the formats that they have. So you can get to any of the video stuff from either one of those links. As I told you, anytime you have questions, you have my email. Please don't hesitate to email me, call me if you have anything that you need to do. So again, just a little bit about my website. So these are all the different full-blown chapter resources, reviews, all that kind of stuff that we get to. What's in our instructor remote instruction videos are just short versions of those. I've eliminated a lot of the curriculum type stuff and just talking about labs themselves are what those videos are about. Again, the study guide that's in there to help you get through the chapters and the answer key for that. Stuff about Flash. This is the chapter that I've added to the curriculum that covers all of the electronics and that type of stuff. You can get through that with your students if you just want to have them. You can copy this link and get them out where they need to go for that. Of course, all the different download options in there. This one that says software for the course. Has a lot of the other things that our in-person training uses that we aren't going to. Course outlines, the equipment, syllabus. I got several different versions of scope and sequence depending on how you're going to teach it, how to lay some of those days out. There was questions about some of the materials, the lab manuals, depending if I teach this in person in a 3 or 5 day or the remote, which one you need. Of course, you need the remote version since that's what we're going to do. Same thing with all the other class materials. So this link is going to take you out to all the stuff that I sent you, that Google link. Well, this one goes to a Dropbox. As I add in, there's some things that I may change or whatever that I'll give you some links to, but the most up-to-date versions of everything I do after you download that initial one are going to be in this remote instructor training material stuff to do. Quite a few different kinds of posters linked out there that deal with us, especially the resistance and electronic symbols and Ohm's law, Kirchhoff's law, and all those things that we're going to deal with. I got different kinds of posters for all of those. Links to all of those places we were talking about a while ago for your equipment, different things that you can get into, some books that you can get more information from, whole section on different videos, that you can go in and watch about teaching the electronics part, especially of what we do. And if you want to teach soldering to your students, some best practices, things there. And then we'll talk a lot more about this hackathon project that's linked down at the bottom of that. So that's kind of my spiel to get us started. Any questions yet?
I hope you guys appreciate the amount of work that Scott puts into this. You've got some bonus materials there.
Yeah.
Shows,
Quite a
Gay, it shows.
quite a bit bonus stuff that I put into what we do. But it's always been my philosophy when we do before I go and do a lab training, I create at least one or two brand new labs and projects for us to do. So I got lots of extra stuff, and you get a lot of extra components that aren't part of our lab. So I write labs on how to make use of all those components that you end up with that you may not use otherwise. So again, I want to give you as much help as I can. Any other questions or any questions? I couldn't have been that thorough.
I'm telling you, this is a quiet group here.
It sure is.
David White, you have no questions? Yeah, now you're all on mute, so you have to unmute yourself.
I'm good.
Okay. Not sure who the call-in. I'm not sure who the call-in user is. There's a call-in. Someone called in on their phone. Who called in on their phone?
They just hung up.
That was Mel Hall. I was driving and so I was listening on the phone
Okay.
and
But
just
this will be Scott will send you the link to this recording as well, so you can see what he was talking about.
Sure, thanks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So if there's nothing else, your next starting point, again, get everything. Chapter 1, you're not going to need anything other than packet tracer, the lab manual, and there are some pre-built packet tracer activity files that are in that download stuff that you will start with that you need. Chapter 2 with all the Arduino stuff, we'll get to that, talk about that when we get to that next week or so. Then we get all the Raspberry Pi stuff after that. So really your objective starting now for the next week or so, read chapter 1, read the electronics chapter. You can do the lab work that's in there, the packet tracers and the worksheet stuff to do, and then take the 2 exams for that. They're not going to take you that much time to get through all of that. Wherever you can do, probably the reading is more reading than anything on these first couple of chapters to get through. And then at that point, by then I'll have everything for the second week stuff all posted online, ready for you to go. Again, anything that I can do to help you get through the class or questions, labs don't work the way they're supposed to, yes, that's definitely going to happen. Please come into this with an open mind. Things are not going to work the way that they're supposed to, and sometimes it's 99% of the time it's something as simple as the LED is backwards, or you didn't you put it in the wrong hole on the breadboard. Something like that fixes most of the problems. Yes.
I actually do have a quick question. We finally got our equipment ordered today. How much of this will we be able to do before we need the equipment?
You won't use anything with the equipment until the official second week of the course. And even if that, you could, if you don't have your equipment there, you can still do all the reading and take the exams, get all that stuff out of the way, and then do the lab stuff when you get to the end. It's up to you how you want to go about doing that. Again, I'm not going to talk about the curriculum as such in any of the recordings that I make. So even if you do all of the testing stuff now, and then a month from now you decide to start on the lab stuff, the videos and all that stuff are gonna pertain just to the labs and how to get started up and running with all of those. So no big deal if you don't have your equipment with you right now. Okay, can you think of anything I missed?
It's pretty thorough. They have a lot to look at here, I think. Hopefully they'll
Course outline on the curriculum page, again, you got the course outline that goes through specifically all the labs week by week, what you've got to do, all that kind of stuff. The particular lab manual, when you go in and get to that lab manual, I'll get it to open up right here.
We may have some people on here who have not taken a course in NetAcad, so you might want to show how to take a test directly on the course page.
Okay, let me get that going. But again, you can see week by week, here's the labs that you need to go through and complete. Even if they're a packet tracer, I put all the instructions into the lab manual. I would highly suggest that you print the lab manual and use it that way. Yes, you can do it online, but I find things never work exactly like they're supposed to. So I like to have the printed version where I can go in and make, marks. Oh, I got to be sure and do this. Or if you find a mistake, there are mistakes in the labs. I know when you find one, email it to me so I can fix it and update the lab manuals and update Cisco for what they're going to do. So when they do get ready to do it, I've got lots of emails, lots of suggestions for Joseph on things that he needs to add to the curriculum itself. I can get logged into my NetAcad account.
I know one gentleman was on. I don't see him on there now, but at least we'd have it on the recording that I don't believe he's taken a course in NetAcad. I think everybody on here now that stayed has, but just to make sure.
I'll put the right email address. So several ways you can get to the curriculum and what you're gonna do. So again, I got several links just for the basic stuff that we need, videos, all that. Easiest way to do everything that you need to do within the curriculum is if you click on the modules link over here on the left, you can see here's reading the curriculum, some online Quizlet activities that you can do with that, and then the actual exam for you to go in and take. So they're laid out, all 7 chapters are laid out that way for you to go through and do stuff with. If you click on this assignments link, this specifically, I like going and putting them in groups and not by dates. And this is specifically, here's all the assignments that you have to complete for me to get your grade when you get
Are
to
the
the
lab reflections an upload? Are they uploading those or?
Yeah,
Okay.
when you get through the last thing that you're going to do, you're going to go to the lab reflections. Be sure that you do the lab reflections locally on your computer. So download it, open it up with Adobe Reader, and then you can type save everything right directly into it. If you do it through the web, it won't save.
Or you can open it as a Word doc if you don't have the ability to edit the PDF.
Everybody has the edit PDF the way they're built. That is the easiest way to do it. Is you just type right directly into the PDF, and then there's not on the instructor, but up here at the top there's a button that says publish assignment. You click on it.
Oh, you publish. I was you don't have upload it.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the instructor side of it. So on the students it says submit assignment.
Why don't you just change the student view and just so you have it on the recording? Just a suggestion. Go back to home and then student view on the right there. That way everybody knows how to submit. So there's what they'll see.
Assignments, and again, show by type, not by date. That's the way I like to look at them.
Yeah, I agree.
And of course, it's not showing anything.
Yeah, you need to publish it.
It is published.
Go back to the previous one and click on the publish button.
Yes, it's already published. Let me get down here and get. Here's
I have
the lab
to
reflection.
leave the student view. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
And it's everything's ready to go in there. I don't know why those aren't showing up. Okay, so once you do it, then up here at the top, there's submit assignment. You just click on that, and then it'll have you go upload that reflections PDF. And then once it uploads, then I'll look at it online, grade it, and publish the grade then right directly into that. So you have to have that before you can do the feedback and the final exam. So when you get ready to do a chapter exam, again, you can go through either one of those again. So let's say chapter 1 when I get ready to do that at the end of the first week, and then so just click on it and then take quiz. There are all the quizzes are already turned on, ready to go for you. You can't access the feedback and the final course exam until everything else has been completed.
Hey, Scott,
Yes.
it looks like the course outline link on your Elk Tech is broken. It's not loading. It
Okay.
works
If
in Net Academy, but it's not
Okay.
working.
All right. I can go back and look at that. But again, you get to it right there is the easiest way to get to it. Yeah. And the training manual, all those things are right there. Anything else?
Okay, everybody go hang up and go cook supper.
Or go
I
out.
have a class to teach
Come-
tonight
Oh,
for me.
Can you leave student view for a minute and go back to the instructor view?
Okay.
Go to assignments. Okay. See, on my end, I'm not seeing all of that.
You don't see it on the instructor because you're a student in this
On
class.
on the student side.
So it was like mine was. These are all blank on your side too.
Right.
Okay. Well, that is. All right. That's something I'll look into and figure out what's not working because everything is published.
might look at the settings maybe and see if
I'm able to see it.
Yeah, I think
you on.
you may need to clear your browser. Again, just depending on which one I'm in, Firefox is what it is, and I got to clear the cache and the cookies pretty regular to keep everything up and running into it. So I would try that. If you still have trouble, let me know and we'll troubleshoot, figure out what's going on.
Okay, I just cleared. I got it now.
Okay, good deal. All right, if nothing else, then we'll leave it with you, and I'll have you probably come up and think of something right off the bat. So I'll be online between 11 and noon tomorrow and 4 and 5 p.m. all Central Times on Thursday. If you got questions this week, you need to ask me or email me anytime if you have anything that you need me to help you with. With that being said, good night all.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thanks a lot,
you.
Scott.
You bet.
Thanks, folks. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So when Lancelot was a kitten, he was born and raised